We're going to dive into the latest on the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator search to kick off today's episode. Plus, Kevin Byard makes his intentions clear. He wants to return to Chicago next season. We'll dive into that as well. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. Ian Rappaport with the update today, saying the Bears have requested to interview Connor Senger for their offensive coordinator position. Source said Senger is Arizona's pass game specialist and called plays in last week's East-West Shrine Bowl. He interviewed for the Bills and Packers quarterback job last weekend. So, who is Connor Senger, you ask? Because I'll be honest, I was not familiar with him before I saw this tweet. So, he's had quite the rise here. He played college football at Wisconsin for a couple of years. Then he transferred to Wisconsin-Oshkosh to play there. A couple of conference championships at that level. Stuck around to be their quarterback coach for a year. Then he went to Carroll College, was their quarterback coach. Then he went to Wisconsin-Whitewater, was their running backs coach. That's a D3 powerhouse, by the way. Then he went to North Dakota State to be a quality control coach. Was a Cardinals quality control coach for a couple of years. Assistant quarterback coach in Arizona in 2024. And this year he was their pass game specialist. So he's gotten a title upgrade the last 3 seasons in Arizona. Now, obviously, Mike LaFleur's taken that job, so unclear if he would want to keep Connor Senger around or not. Rappaport mentioned a couple of other jobs he interviewed for with Buffalo and in Green Bay. Eric Galko, who is one of the board members of the East-West Shrine Bowl, I think he's the VP or something like that, tweeted out, he is absolutely a rising star in the NFL coaching world. I've gotten to see him for 2 years at the Shrine Bowl, and his leadership, communication, organization, and creativity stand out among the OCs we've had the last 5 years. Special play caller and offensive leader. And I've looked into him more, and he seems to be one of these fast risers in the NFL. I mean, rewind a year. How much did we know about Declan Doyle? Well, he's this young guy that was a student coach at Iowa, where his dad was a strength and conditioning coach for a long time. And then he found his way onto Sean Payton's radar for 4 years, and then Ben Johnson hired him. And it was viewed as, oh, really? You're going to bring in a 28-year-old OC? Well, this guy at 30 years old, kind of the same deal. Now, he hasn't worked under someone with the resume of a Sean Payton, but this guy has quickly moved up the ranks. Now, he's never been a QB's coach or even a pass game coordinator. I don't know what pass game specialist entails. I would imagine he's probably somewhat involved in some pass game design with Arizona this past year. I will say when Jacoby Brissett played, they actually put up some pretty decent passing numbers in 2025. Brissett did light up the stat sheet in that regard. Elsewhere in the OC search, Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports, reported that the Bears requested to interview Bengals wide receiver coach Troy Walters for their OC position, but he declined. Walters, who's had multiple OC looks the last few years, will stay in Cincinnati with hopes to win with one of the best units in football. So not sure why he declined. Maybe he didn't think he had a real chance at the job. I'm not sure, but it's a non-play calling gig, so maybe coaching receivers in Cincinnati is more appealing to him. Who knows? But he did not opt to interview. I thought this was interesting. This isn't a report. Ted Wynn, who does some film analysis, he's pretty big in kind of the all-22 game, said, best thing for Cliff Kingsbury might be to try to get the Bears OC job, though no connection has been reported. Obviously, he wouldn't call plays, but getting experience learning on under center offense would benefit him and his stock immensely. It would be way better for his career than taking, let's say, the Jets job. Now, that is an interesting angle because Cliff is still a relatively young coach. He's in his early 40s, I believe. And, you know, he's had some success. He's had some shortcomings. The theme for him seems to be is early on things go well, then after a while his offenses kind of get figured out. And I do think part of the problem is he doesn't utilize under center enough, and especially under center play action, which is a staple for all good offenses in the NFL in the year of 2026. All the good offenses run a lot of under center play action shot plays, and he doesn't do that. He's shotgun, pistol, spread it out. He does have some fun run game stuff. Obviously, he has a connection with the Bears in terms of, he interviewed for the OC job in 2024 when Shane Waldron got the job, and he has a relationship with Caleb Williams. He was the QB coach at USC in 2023, Williams last year in college. So there are some connections there. Again, to Tedwin's point, there's been no report of this. Would he want to come do the heavy hours, non-play calling OC job under Ben Johnson? I don't know. If he wants to add more to his offensive play calling arsenal, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Would Ben be interested? I'm not sure. So there's a lot of unknown there. I'd be surprised if it happened. Now, you look at the offensive coordinator landscape, 21 new OCs this year. There are some open jobs. The Jets would obviously be a play calling opportunity. The Cardinals would not. Mike LaFleur is the play caller. The Raiders would not. That's going to be Clint Kubiak. The Steelers is not. Mike McCarthy's calling plays. The Bears, obviously. Ben Johnson's the play caller here. Rams, McVay's the play caller. And the Seahawks could be an opportunity. I would doubt that Seattle would switch from that kind of Shanahan, Kubiak type of offense to a Cliff Kingsbury one, but in theory, that is a play calling opportunity available. So that and the Jets, and that's it. So I will say this, I'd be surprised, but A, there's not a lot of play calling gigs left, especially with the Giants going with Matt Nagy, which that did surprise me. And B, you never know, especially because there are connections here. Again, I'd be surprised. I'd almost say what's more likely would be like he takes some like senior analyst role somewhere and then just kind of jumps back in next year. So we'll see if there's any mutual interest with Cliff. He certainly has had some success in the NFL, but is he going to come here to not call plays? I don't know. That seems like a long shot at this point in time. Now, obviously, you've got the internal candidates, JT Barrett, the quarterback's coach, Antoine Randall, the receiver coach, Press Taylor, the pass game coordinator, and Will Lawing, which we don't know his role. Like, he could be the next OC. They hired him before Declan Doyle left, so Ben Johnson had to have had some plan for him. I think some of that was probably, hey, we could lose Declan, or we obviously lost Eric Bieniemy. They haven't hired a running backs coach as of now, so could that be his role? Depending on what they do at OC, certainly possible, but they have a couple of moving pieces here that they've got to figure out. I don't view Randall L as someone that'll probably take that gig. Being the assistant head coach and receivers coach, to be a non-play calling OC, does that really benefit him? I'm not sure. JT Barrett could make sense, 30, 31 years old, add OC to his resume, continue that ascension. Press Taylor, if he wants to get back to calling plays in the future, be the OC for a year or two. He could maybe get back on people's radars to be a play caller. Then obviously Will Lawing, coming from Boston College as their OC, could certainly fit that mold as well. Who do you guys want as the Bears offensive coordinator? I just want to hear from you guys. Who do you want as the OC? Not who you think it will be. Who do you want it to be? Let me know in the comments of this video. We'll talk Kevin Byard here in just a moment, but first, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups once you play your first $5. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Drake May's passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns in the Super Bowl, or less based on how he's been playing? Now you can, all in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. That being said, when it comes to Drake May, you got a max discount opportunity, half a passing yard, so you take the more on that, obviously. Pair that with something else, boom, you got a 2-person lineup. Up to 6-player lineups, but, when those max discounts are available, I usually just do a 2-player lineup because you're halfway home to cashing out. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Kevin Byard. He has made it pretty damn clear at this point, and honestly the Bears have too. We'll kind of dive into it here, that both sides want each other together again, right? Like, he wants to return. The Bears want him back. Byard, who's out in San Francisco this week for the Pro Bowl, which is tonight, spoke to the media, including the guys over at CHGO who captured this conversation. So credit to Hogan Johns and the boys over there for that. He said, quote, "I think I was one of the only guys talking about Ryan Poles, brought up by name. in his season-ending press conference. It's always good to hear your GM say they want you back. Obviously, I had meetings with him and Ben Johnson, and they all echoed the same thing. I said the same thing as well, and he's right. He kind of downplayed it. He is the only player that Ryan Poles went out of his way to mention as a internal free agent that they for sure want back. I think Ryan even said something like, I'll go ahead and say by name Kevin Byard. I'm comfortable mentioning him verbally that we would like to work something out there. He did not do that for any other player that's set to be a free agent. So that was a signal that they want him back, which I don't blame them. He had a great year. More from Byard here. He said, quote, if all else is fair and equal, I'd love to come back to the Bears. The city and the organization has embraced myself and my family. We had such a great year this year. I also said this in my interviews after the exit meetings. The hardest thing to do in this league is to get the quarterback and head coach right. I think that's something that Chicago has, so I think that window is going to be open for as long as it needs to be. So obviously, I would love to come back and play for the Bears. I'll just go ahead and say it now. I think he re-signs before free agency. Remember, you can re-sign your own free agents if both sides agree to a deal before free agency opens, which the tampering period begins March 9th, and free agents can officially sign March 11th. I think Byard is back with the Bears on a 1 or 2 year deal, probably between $7 and $10 million per year on a new contract before that even happens. I just think they want him back. He wants to come back. He has spoken really highly about Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. He mentioned it, and at this stage in his career, he doesn't want to play for some random team. He wants to play for a contender, and he is a cornerstone piece on this defense right now, and he's getting older, so he's going to be selective. Does he want to move around? I mean, I guess if some contender if he got caught wind of a contender willing to offer him major money, he might wait and hit the open market. But if both sides can come to an agreement that makes sense before that March 9th tampering period opens, I just think that they're going to find a way to make this work. And I think the Bears are going to be motivated to, because A, he's a really good player and leader, and B, they have zero safeties under contract for 2026. And doesn't plan A feel like, at the safety position right now for the Bears, re-sign Kevin Byard and then draft a safety early, whether it's in the first, second, or third round? Bring Byard back, draft a safety in the early rounds of the draft to start next to him, and then, I would say bring back one of Jonathan Owens or Elijah Hicks. Probably Owens. Hicks is a younger player, may try to go compete for a job elsewhere. But Owens, Simone Biles, they seem to like Chicago. Like, he can come back, be the third safety, and then you either sign or some cheap fourth safety, or pick up a guy late in the draft to fill that role, something like that. Kind of like Elijah Hicks in the 7th round, come play special teams, be our fourth safety, and then there's your safety room. Kind of feels like that's where this is heading. Now, you got to be adaptable, go to plan B. It is a business. You never know what's going to happen, but I do feel pretty confident that the Bears are going to find a way to bring Kevin Byard back sooner rather than later. Confidence level in Kevin Byard returning next season, scale of 1 to 100. I'm at about a 90. I mean, you never say never. Things could get weird. You never know. If the Bears are, getting aggressive in a trade for a defensive player, they may have to push back those talks. That certainly could factor in, given the money that it would take if they were to go after a Max Crosby or something like that. But I am pretty confident. I think Kevin Byard will be back in 2026, and it wouldn't shock me if it was a 2-year deal, especially if they want to keep the cap hit down for 2026. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We will continue to monitor everything this offseason, so hit that subscribe button and bear down.